Hello there. Has the UK become a virtual police state within the space of just a few days? Firstly, as ever, please kick that YouTube algorithm up the jacksie by giving this video a big fat like. And I'm always uploading new content, so please do check my YouTube channel daily. Now, I've talked in passing a couple of times recently about policing by consent, and that the recent laws put in place by this government to combat the global health crisis could stretch that concept to breaking point and beyond. And you only have to look at the Act of Parliament concerned and the associated statutory instrument to see how far-reaching the powers are that have been given to the police to effectively marshal our lives. And when you couple that with a Quisling snitcher's hotline being put in place for neighbours to inform on each other, then the skin begins to crawl. In the UK, the presumption under the law is that you can do pretty much as you please, as long as the law hasn't prohibited it. And generally, the UK public has an easy, if sometimes uncomfortable, relationship with the police, whose job it is to enforce those laws. Also consider that for the vast majority of people, contact with the police will be very infrequent. Bar the odd traffic car pulling you over, of course. That's not to say the police are not there, it's just that most of the time we never need to call on them, hence we are unlikely to notice them unless you spot them in the rearview mirror. But that has now all changed. Right now the law prohibits us all from leaving our homes, except for some very tight exceptions. That means that we can effectively do very little. The law is so tightly written that just about every single one of us could be in danger of flouting the law without realising it or thinking that we won't get caught. Or more dangerously, just being blasé about it all and convincing ourselves that what we do doesn't matter and won't hurt either us or anyone else, when the exact opposite is the case. But it's not just breaching the law that's the problem. It's that our police officers will be deciding if the law has been breached and what to do about it. And in the first few days of these new laws coming into force, there have been many a story about the police overstepping the mark. Even going through shopping bags to ascertain whether your purchases were of essential items and fining those with what they determined were frivolous contents in their possession. The police have started to become the Stasi, not the local bobby policing by consent. And they've also employed psychology, with social media messages like the one Cheshire Police used. If you were informed that there was a killer on the street randomly targeting innocent people, you don't know where they were, you couldn't see them from your window, but you know they were there, would you go out? Would you let your kids out of your sight? Different approaches in different manners and no consistency. So what has in effect happened is that every police force across the country has interpreted the rules in a different way. And further, they appear to have left it to every individual police officer to interpret it in their own way, which has led to confusion and alarm, with people being unsure what they can and cannot do and wary of getting fined or worse for breaking the law. But think on this. What it might have done is make people more wary about leaving their homes unless they are convinced that theirs is really a necessary trip. The psychology of fear and confusion to get a prescribed response, maybe. Now that could be a short-term win, but in the long term this will backfire, as all it will lead to is fear, resentment and hate. With some people then going out of their way to test the system, maybe. But the government has laid down hard and fast rules, so the police should enforce them, because if they don't, then what's the point of the laws? The law would fall into disrepute. However, both the government and the police are caught between a rock and a hard place. In fact, they're on a tightrope. If the law isn't tight enough or not properly enforced, then the scientists tell them that people are going to die needlessly. And if the laws are too tight and overzealously enforced, then the economy tanks for nothing and people die needlessly, some from having their lives financially destroyed. And the police, having tried to twerk their way to popularity, now find themselves the harsh law enforcers. Big change for them. But be in no doubt that if this crisis gets worse, then the lockdown might have to become tighter in order to save lives. And all this worries many people, as it not only wrecks our civil liberties today, it also tomorrow wrecks our lives and jobs and has a massive effect on families and friendships. And the longer it goes on, the worse that gets. But I would bet we'd all rather like there to be a clean, empty hospital bed equipped with ventilator and attentive staff should we or one of our loved ones become ill, wouldn't we? And that probably goes double for all the selfish people out there who do ignore the rules. And that is the exact balance right now. We either have a situation where everyone who gets seriously ill can get proper medical attention, or we just relax the whole thing and hope the NHS doesn't buckle under the strain where no one gets much at all. Now, one way the police can help themselves is by ensuring that, as far as possible, the law is enforced equally across the whole UK. Police officers can't be seen to be too harsh in one area while being too lenient in another. That just once again builds up resentment. Overzealous enforcement can be a sign of a police state, but so can selective enforcement. Also, it's easy to understand why it's wrong to be too strict with, say, one portion of our community. But where the current situation is concerned, it's also wrong to be too lax with one portion of our community as well. Because where those people are allowed to ignore social distancing, they could well end up with a very high rate of infection and worse. And that portion of the community will have put itself in danger and would have been assisted by the inaction of the authorities in so doing. It would be like the police ignoring a motorcyclist without a crash helmet, doing the ton weaving in and out of traffic on a busy motorway, or turning a blind eye to a car full of people without their seatbelts on and a legless driver. Now, you could blame the people concerned, but they, the left-wingers and the report writers, will be blaming government and the police for not enforcing the law. And it will be called bigotry and some form of institutional ism, etc. Fingers will be pointed at the government and police on behalf of that group of people, and they will say you did not do enough to protect them. But I would like to put the record straight on one of the despicable things that the police are alleged to have done. There are reports across the mainstream and social media that Derbyshire police wrecked a local beauty spot, the Blue Lagoon Lake near Buxton, by pouring black dye into the water to make it less appealing as a visitor attraction during this lockdown. For example, The Guardian reported that on Monday, former Supreme Court Justice Lord Sumption said that excessive measures were in danger of turning Britain into a police state, singling out Derbyshire police, which deployed drones and dyed the Blue Lagoon near Buxton black to make it less appealing, for trying to shame people in using their undoubted right to take exercise in the country and wrecking beauty spots in the fells. And Nigel Farage wrote in The Telegraph that As officers from Derbyshire Constabulary put black dye into the Blue Lagoon beauty spot to dissuade visitors from flocking there, planes from New York, Italy and China were landing at major UK airports. Now, the Blue Lagoon near Buxton has attracted many people over the years due to its lovely turquoise-coloured water. But this is an old open quarry, and the water has a very high alkaline content, with a pH of 11.3. Just compare that to ammonia, with a pH of 11.5, and bleach, with a pH reading of 12.6. Natural pH is 7, and I've read that a little over 8.5 it can start causing problems. The old quarry has also been the recipient of a lot of waste material over the years as well, including car wrecks and dead animals. And the website atlasobscura.com reports that signs leading up to the lake give stark warnings to not enter the water, as it has high pH levels. This can cause skin and eye irritations, stomach problems, fungal infections such as thrush, as well as, think, would you swim in ammonia or bleach? And the water was even deemed to be too toxic and dangerous to the local water supply for it to be drained away. But this did not seem to deter visitors arriving and taking a dangerous dip. So, in June 2013, the council took the drastic measure of pouring black dye into the water to lessen its appeal. So far, the plan seems to be working. According to locals, disappointed weekend road trippers have been turning back when they spot the newly inky lagoon. And after the lagoon returned to its former colourful glory in 2015, it was once again dyed in 2018, and the police said that it would be kept that way for the foreseeable future. Well, that's poured cold, inky water on that particular story, hasn't it? So don't believe everything you read in the press or on social media. But I would say that overall we're not at the police state quite yet, and much of this may be more down to media hype than anything else. But the police do have a steep learning curve to get over here, and the sooner they sort it out, the less chance there is of losing the public trust. Anyway, if you want to hear more from me, please don't forget to subscribe and also press that little bell, or you won't get any notifications. And if you want to see more of me, buy a mug with my mug on it. So what do you think about a police state in the UK? Please share and comment, and thank you for watching.